You're listening to Paul Anderson. This is the Sideshow Podcast.
All right. And hey, welcome to the Sideshow Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Anderson. And this week I am joined by somebody that I was super stoked to even agree to do the show. And yeah. So this week I'm joined by Nick. He was in the band Man Overboard. And right now he is working with Mr. Ace Enders over at the Lumberyard recording studio. And honestly, it was a really good conversation. Me and Nick just talked a lot about just where he came as a musician from day one to where that what really got him into recording and being an engineer producer. And a lot of the cool things that, like, I guess we really got into were like how music has turned itself into more of a brand. And it was super cool that because, like, he was kind of explaining some of the benefits when people go and just do home recording, what you lack, like, especially where if you were to go and work with somebody like Nick and Ace at the Lumberyard. It's pretty cool how that worked out. So yeah, I'm really excited for this episode, and I just want to hop right into it. I don't want to drag this on too long. If you checked out my last week's episode with Randy from the band We Were Sharks, I appreciate it. And if you haven't, definitely go back and check it out. I have this is the second episode. This right now is the second episode of 2018. So it's super cool. And yeah. So, and if you haven't checked out any of my other previous episodes, go back, check them out. I talk with some really good people, and honestly, in the upcoming weeks, from what I know right now, I'm looking forward to the next couple episodes. And I want you all to get out there and definitely hit the subscribe button, follow, like if you like the podcast. I mean, definitely hit a like on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube, or give me 5 stars over on iTunes, because that really does help the show, and it really gets me kind of out there. I mean, I do this by myself, and it has been paying off. I mean, you'll see real soon with the guests that I do have coming up, and even with this one, and talking with Nick from Man Overboard. So, all right, I don't want to jabber on too long. Check it out, and yeah.
I stare out of my window and I look at my neighbors and take notes on being normal. How to wave and be nice, or talk to a child, or offer a hand, or actually smile. Maybe I'll learn how to talk to people. Maybe I'll learn how to laugh. Maybe I'll end up just like my dad. But I just don't feel like a grown-up yet.
All right, so yeah, for everybody that's listening, I'm talking with Nick, and Nick is from, I mean, so many great different projects. He has his own studio with Ace Enders, which, from what I hear, has been going fantastic. And
Yeah, we've been trying.
it's crazy because, like, you see so many bands, and like you guys are putting yourselves out there, and that's such a great thing. It's like, it's like you guys are definitely like you've traveled the world, you've played music. I mean, your old band, Man Overboard, who is, in my opinion, probably one of the reasons why I really fell in love with pop punk music. And
oh wow, I appreciate that.
it's crazy because, like, I mean, I don't know it's like, it's crazy to say, but like, I don't know where to start because there's so many exciting aspects. Where would you like to start, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, we can start with Man Overboard, because that's kind of like how I got involved with being in the band. I mean, we're going back to like 2007 right now, so you can hear me okay, right?
Oh yeah, dude, you sound great on this end.
Cool. So yeah, coming in like 2007, I had built the studio. I've been recording since I guess for like 15 years now. I started recording like in my buddy's basement on the street that I live in, you know, on the 4-track, and just because like back then, before, you know, internet, we just listened to punk rock records as kids, you know, before high school and shit, and we were like how the hell do we do this, you know? So, you know, a buddy of mine that lived on the street, his dad was, you know, somewhat of a computer guy, hooked us up with a 4-track. Fast forward, I've been recording for years, and I started recording this band called The Front Page. Now, The Front Page consists of Zach, Justin, Wayne, and our one of our first drummers. His name was Mike. He was on the self-titled record. So everybody in that band was in The Front Page, and I started to record their band. During that, I just became close with Wayne because he like lived down the street from where my studio was at. And yeah, you know, like I'm a drummer. My original instrument is drums, so it was different for me. Start to write songs and like use my voice and be like, can I sing? Can I not sing? I'm not sure. So, excuse me, I kind of had the luxury of, you know, sitting in a studio all hours of the night and like trying different things out with my voice, you know, to see if like if I could even do it. So, you know, I started showing these things to Wayne, and he started coming and hanging at the studio with me. And he's like kind of hiding it from Front Page. He's not like telling Zach because he doesn't want Zach to get bummed. But he's like, you know what, screw it. Like, you and Zach need to sit down and hang out. So one night we all get together at the studio, and I start showing Zach my songs, and we like immediately click. And he's like, dude, you're kind of like me, just from like another town. I was like, yeah, I guess so. So he's like, you got this sick studio, so and this is pre-Lumberyard. So, you know, we got the sick studio, let's hang out, let's write some songs, and then, you know, the rest is pretty much history from there. And then fast forward to current times. I mean, Man Overboard, obviously, as you know, took a hiatus. We grinded, you know, super hard for a long time. And our last record was tracked with Bill Stevenson from The Blasting Room and Jason Livermore and that whole squad.
Wow.
Now, if you look at my Instagram and you look at my Twitter, the first thing I always write is I've learned from the best in the business, and I wholeheartedly, truly believe that, because everybody that's currently killing it, I worked with, you know, coming up, like gratefully, humbly worked with, and so, you know, we worked with Will Yip, we worked with Jesse Cannon, and then our last record was Bill Stevenson. I mean, we drove out to Colorado. We lived there for, you know, 3-4 weeks, and we did our Heavy Love record there. But being there, it was like an experience I've never had before, because usually in the studio with the band, you're like, everybody's in one room, you all do one thing, and then that one thing gets worked on, then the next thing happens, you know? Yeah. Everybody's usually there. The Blasting Room has like 3 or 4 different rooms, so like drums are going in one room, and then it's getting worked on in another room, and then bass is going on in a different room, and then at night we're singing. So it was almost like an assembly line, and it was so stress free, and I was like, shit, like this is so cool. I've never experienced anything like this. So I knew the band was going to take a hiatus eventually. And after recording that record, I went home, and I've known Ace for a while. I went to school with a lot of the people in the early November. And I was like, dude, I went to the studio. We tracked here. It was amazing. You got like a way cooler spot than I have. I had like a shed, literally a shed, a 12-foot by 28-foot shed. My father and my then partner, his name was Alex, father, they went in and bought the shed when we were 18. So that's what I was working out of. And I'm like, I want to take this serious. I know the band's about to chill for a bit. Let me talk to Ace and just see where he's at. And he's like, dude, I love what you're talking about. I'm totally down. Let's build it together. So he was already in this place, which is an old antique shop.
That's awesome.
And and then we built the studio.
Wow.
And that's where we're at.
Dude, that's fucking crazy. I love it. I mean, that's such a cool story. Like, just from beginning to end. And like, I mean, I love to back it up a little bit, because I know there's a lot of, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure that was like the big spiel. Anything you want to dive into.
It's crazy because, like, I feel like, with Man Overboard, I guess, like, there's always a lot of unanswered questions. I mean, the band did, like you said, you guys are on it's a hiatus right now. I mean, I assume that you guys are all still relatively good friends and do stay in touch.
Oh yeah, amazing friends. Yeah, I mean, I speak to everybody but Joe every day, pretty much.
Okay.
Joe's always been a quiet guy, so he doesn't really have much to say. But yeah, like Justin works for Good Fight Entertainment Management now, and he helps book the studio. I FaceTime Justin once a day. Wayne and I are managing 2 bands together. I recorded all Zach's stuff, like his side band. He did Bright Green. I recorded, produced, and tracked all that. So yeah, we're all very close still. To answer your question.
So that's awesome, because I guess, like, I mean, it must, after a while, like, a lot of people always hit you with the question, like, oh, when you guys gonna get back together? When are you gonna get back together? But I guess, like, I mean, fast forward to where, I mean, everything always, I don't want to say it always comes to an end or for whatever reason, but it's always nice to, like you said, it's nice to just chill once in a while, because I feel like Man Overboard was one of those bands that was probably one of the hardest working in the music scene. I mean, like, long tours, always out on the road or out overseas, like either doing like Slam Dunk or something like that. So eventually, I assume that it all just eventually just caught up to you guys, where it was like, let's just take a minute.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, we kind of over-toured, and I think that stems from a couple things. I mean, like I said, when we first started coming up with Man Overboard, luckily we were friends with like people like Transit from Boston, people like Title Fight, people like Bouncing Composure, people like Tiger's Jaw. So like all these bands were separately coming up at the same time, and this is like right when the internet is starting. Like MySpace is like starting to pop off. So like all you knew was, fuck, in order to do this, we have to go away forever and tour, Yeah. So that's, and that was like, the start of like this big social media bubble. So we're just on the road, and we were on the road so long that I think things turned into Facebook, into Instagram, into Twitter. And you didn't have to really go away so much to get your band's name out there. But we were so busy touring that, like, I feel like we just didn't see that. So it took us a second to be like, our last big tour was Warped Tour, main stage. I mean, that's like the dream for any pop punk band coming up in the game. Like, one day we're going to be on main stage, it's going to be fucking so sick. So, I mean, we did that. And then we're looking at it like, do we just chill from here on out? Like, do we not do anything anymore and just let it be what it is, and then we'll just feel it out? Like, because, I mean, we were tired, man. We toured from 2008 till, I think, this April is going to be 2 years. So, wow. 2008 to 2016. And we're talking like,
straight out.
We're not talking like a couple weekend tours. We're talking about 7 weeks in the U.S., fly straight to U.K. for 10 days, fly to mainland Europe right after. Then we flew to Russia once. We toured Russia for like 10 days. Like, we're talking about like 18 weeks straight for like 8 months a year and shit. So like at the end, we were all like pretty tired.
And it
And
does.
just
You're
kind
right.
of
It's crazy, and you're
What's
right.
that?
You're right. It just eventually catches up to you. I mean, between jet lag and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's just one of those things, and I completely understand. I mean, and that's
Yeah, and that whole social media thing was going on. You know what I'm saying? Like at the same time, like now we're talking about like Heart Attack record coming out, and like social media is like at its height, and you know you don't really see what's happening till you're past it, and then you're like, wow, that did happen. So like bands don't have to tour 8 months a year anymore
no.
to become successful. I mean, one of the artists we work with in the studio that Ace has been working with, his name's Nothing Nowhere. I mean, he's about to blow up. This kid Joe is from Vermont. And one day we're in the studio working. I'm like, Joe, when you play at home, because he's from Vermont, I'm like, where the hell do you play?
Right.
Like, what's your hometown show? He's like, dude, I've never played a hometown show. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, I've never played a hometown show. I released a couple songs. I got approached by this one and that one, and the rest is history. I'm like, wow, things have changed.
Yeah, it has.
Like that's just what did not exist in 2008. Like then that's when Man Overboard started, you know, recording.
And I guess, like, I mean, that's one of the things I love about you guys is, like, you know, you always had, like, a good association, and I guess, like, all the friendships I guess you've made throughout the years, too, like, you mentioned, like, you know, just being associated with, like, Transit and all those guys. I mean, I feel like there was a time period, I guess, between, like, 2008 and I think all the way even up till, like, maybe 2014, 15, where, in my mind, it was always, like, Man Overboard, Transit, this time next year, A Loss for Words. Like there was the Wonder Years, like, you know what I mean? Like you could not have one without the other. And I feel like, you know, I think, did it help, I guess, touring with all your all your friends from all those other bands over the years?
Oh, it definitely helped. I mean, like not only did it help in the sense of like, yo, like a certain group of people might like the Wonder Years a lot more than Man Overboard, so they're going to headline, but they're going to help bring us along. Mm-hmm. And it helped in that sense, and it helped in the sense of competition, you know? We'd be like, shit, man, like that New Story So Far record is so good, like we can't, like they're setting the bar. Like everybody would reset a bar every now and then.
Mm. I agree.
So you'd go in and you'd be like, shit, man, like separation, balance, and composure is like off the hook. Like we need to be in our own thing off the hook equally, you know?
And I think you guys definitely.
So like that helped too. Yeah, that helped too. And that wave comes around every so often. I mean, working with Ace, that wave happens with Drive Through Records. You know, it was early November. It was Movie Life, Starting Line, Alistair. You know, and that whole bubble came, and then it went away. And then, you know, thankfully we were part of that second one with Total Flight, Bounce, Transit. You know, Tiger Straw.
All those guys, yeah, and I think that's an important thing. I mean, now, obviously, you have a really good friendship with Ace and everything like that. What are some of the things I guess that you've learned from him over the years when it came down to the music industry, or was there anything that he kind of gave you clues on
about the music industry?
Music industry, or even just how to write music, or like, I mean.
Oh yeah, I mean tons. I mean, Ace is one of the smartest people I've met in the game, just because, I mean, he's like how do I word this? He's like super creative. He can write you any kind of song in a matter of minutes, and it'd be better than a song that I've been sitting with for like a year. And I'll listen to it. I'm like, dude, you wrote this in 5 minutes? They're like, yeah, why? I'm like, it's incredible, man. Like, I can't, like, it takes a lot for me to sit down and like, okay, I'm gonna write a song. I never get it done in that period of time. Do you know what I'm saying? Ace will sit down and he can like creatively speak out loud and like write a song just by talking. And you're like, holy shit, like what just happened? It kind of like hits you out of nowhere, and you're like, this song just went from good to great. And in the studio game, I mean, we're in a dying industry, obviously. Like recording studios can be everywhere. People can record themselves whenever they want at any time of the day. So a big thing that we offer is knowing our craft, knowing what like all the ins and outs of a studio are, having great gear, taking it super seriously. But Ace and I have been through the ringer, man. Like, we've been on tour. We've been dropped from labels. Like, Ace has had record shelves before. Like, I mean, like, we've been dropped from tours. Like, crazy stuff has happened to us, and we can help these bands with that advice. And on top of it, having Ace there and I there who've wrote records, who've tried to make big records, you know, we try to make like a good song great, you know, and that's a quality that not everybody has. And we really pride ourselves in, you know, your band's going to come in and you're going to leave way better off than you did when you walked in the door.
I completely agree. I think that's like, you know what I mean? Like, years of experience is something that a lot of people need behind them. And like, especially when you're a new band, I mean, I assume like you must get a few newer bands that are, you know, we'll say baby bands at that point, and they kind of need a nice guidance, somebody to give them that advice like you once got.
What, say that last part again. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was saying like, I guess a lot of these like the younger baby bands, like, I guess that's the thing that you know, you guys definitely offer, that which is important, is those years of experience and grinding out, like, you know, being on the road, or just how to write music in general. Because I mean, you must get songs, I guess, that are sometimes just not complete, but like you put 1 and 2 and you guys can help kind of fine tune it. Like, I look at it as like like, from what I'm understanding, is like Ace is probably amazing at laying framework, and then like, I mean, there's got to be 2 heads looking at like the details at that point.
Of course, yeah, and that's like a big part of, like I said, what we do. Like, normally a session will start off with either Ace or I in a room with the band, you know, going over the songs, making them play them, you know, just with an acoustic guitar and your voice. Like, let's start there. Pick up the guitar, play your song, captivate me, you know, sell me on this song. And you put people on the spot, and like that kind of tension, that kind of pressure all leads into like this whole like weird psychology of like a recording session, you know? Like, I mean, making things sound good is literally the easy part.
Absolutely.
You know, like your guitar sounds like shit, whatever, like, we'll fix it. We can fix it. It can be fixed. Like, people say you can't polish a turd. That's such bullshit. You definitely can. I've done it. I continue to do it. And it's just all about the song, man. Like, so many times, here's a story I tell new bands all the time. You know, they're like, they come into the studio, they want to hit it big. They want to go to a big studio with all this crazy gear, with this console, that console. And I tell them, I'm like, dude, Man Overboard recorded Love Your Friends Die Laughing. It's our biggest song still. Okay?
Yep.
We recorded that thing blackout drunk. Everybody was high. I'm pretty sure some people were on mushrooms. I'm pretty sure like we were blackout drunk in the shed on like a PC with no gear, absolutely nothing, and it's still our biggest song. We went to studios and recorded on some of the best gear that's ever been created, and never once did we top that song. And it's something about the magic of a song that just is it's more than what it sounds like. It could sound like shit, but if it's like a really good song and it moves people, it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter like what compressor you used. It's not going to matter what guitar you recorded with. It's all about that song. And that's like something we try to tell bands, all little baby bands all across the board. Like, the pre-production part before we even start recording is the most important part, because we got shitty songs and we got shitty songs, you know?
Oh, I bet. I can only imagine. So yeah, dude, I mean, one of the things I definitely wanted to talk to you a little bit about was how was, I guess, when you were growing up, we'll just say pre-Man Overboard and all that, like, what was your home life like? Where did you grow up, and what were some of the things, I guess, what was your childhood like, I guess, is probably a good question to start.
Yeah, I had a great childhood, man. I had a great upbringing. Grew up here in Williamstown, New Jersey, and I currently live here still. I bought the house from my mom.
Oh.
And so I live here still. But yeah, my childhood was literally surrounded by music. My dad was a super hard worker. He worked for like a boiling company. He would check boilers out at like big companies, and then on the side, he had a catering business, which me and my brother worked at like super young age. So we always learned the hard way of like what hard work was. But my dad was a drummer, and my uncle was a drummer, and their father was a drummer. So I've been surrounded by drums forever.
Uh-huh.
Music was like a huge part of my life growing up, and I guess 2014 I did lose my dad while being away on tour and stuff, and that was kind of the beginning for me for Man Overboard. Just me being like, I need to go home, and I need to like just reset. I just need to hit reset. Like, trust me, there's nothing more that I love than like going on stage and playing shows and like watching the kids sing it back. Like, obviously, there's nothing in the world like that. But when that kind of happened,
It was devastating.
I needed a minute. I needed to
sure.
chill because it was like 2014 was a huge year for our band. So like there was no downtime for me to like even think about what had happened. I was constantly flying to Florida and coming home and going back out on tour. So that was kind of like the start of it. But I had a great childhood. I worked like a dog in high school. I have Friday nights. People were going to the baseball game or football game for the high school. Me and my brother were, cooking meatballs and stuffed shells, getting ready for like a wedding the next day that my dad was gonna cater.
Wow. That's crazy.
And and my mom is like the strongest person in the world. So I mean, she's instilled, what it means to be like a rock in the family. So that's it for me. Yeah, and like I said, I bought the house from my mom in 2014, like right after my dad passed away, and I got a little girl. She's gonna be 1 year old, and she's gonna be 1 year old in 6 days.
Wow, I was gonna say, I know you're becoming a big family man, and that's very nice to see. Like like how is it? I guess transitioning into fatherhood. I mean, being on the road all the time must it would have been tough. I mean, having a child and being on the road, and it must be nice to be home and see her grow up right now.
Oh yeah, I mean it's amazing to be home. But like I said, like eventually, man, we're gonna play again. I'm gonna have to go away. It's gonna suck, definitely. But like Ace has an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old, and he tours, and it's super tough. Like I see it. Like the week prior to early November, having hit the road, like you could just see in Ace's demeanor, like you're like, dude, I know you're sad. Like I would be sad if I were you too,
Hell yeah.
And like there's so many times, like if he listens, this would be funny, but like so many times he's so bummed out, and I'm so happy because I don't have to go. I'm like, I'll walk in like so happy. I'm like, damn, dude, you got like a week left. And he's like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, whew, so happy it's not me. I try to make him laugh and stuff. But transferring from being in a band to fatherhood was pretty easy for me. I hated kids. I never wanted kids. And then, like I said, like losing my dad, like completely like fucked me up a ton. And it's a struggle. It's still a struggle. Everybody deals with loss and stuff in their own way, but once that happened, I definitely, wanted to shift into like having like a family and being there for everybody, because there were so many times I couldn't, and FaceTime only goes so far and only works so well.
Oh, I bet.
When you're, millions of miles away, eventually you just need to be home. So, I'm extremely happy with where I'm at. I never expected Man Overboard to even be half of what it is. So I was always in the studio game. I was always in the producing world, and it definitely took me away from it, but it's made it a shit ton better because, I have like my own resume of records that I've done, and so.
What are some of the? I definitely wanted to ask you this. Is like, what are some of the records that you happen to work on that you are most stoked about that people should definitely check out?
What records that we've just done in the studio that we're super proud about? Is that what you asked?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, the biggest one to date, we had our good friends in the Wonder Years come in, and we did the Burst and Decay record. It was like I think it's like 7 songs.
Oh.
But it's like it's previous songs they've released, but just like bug sessioned out in the studio. So we were super proud about that. We were happy to be a part of this local bands that are in the area, like Your Persona, this new band called Sun Title, Ty Goes to the Runner. They were cool records. 2 of the bands currently that Wayne and I are managing have been in the studio. One of them's called The Insides, and they're from Philadelphia. And the second's called Small Words, and they're from Nashville.
Okay.
And 2 bands that we super, super loved having in, and just love the record. I like listen to The Insides on a daily basis. So I'm like, shit, man, I can't believe we recorded this. This is so sick. You know, I find myself being like, damn, I impressed myself on this one. But yeah, like I said before, like any band that comes in the studio, man, like we want them to get some kind of success. Like even if it means like, yo, we're playing more shows because of this, or yo, our guarantees went up because of this, or yo, we got approached by this label or this management. Like anything, like it's not one of those businesses that's like, all right, you're gonna come in, you're gonna pay me, you're gonna leave, and then that's it.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, it's not like that. It's like, yo, we need to form a relationship here. Like you need to come in, we need to work our asses off and like blood, sweat, and tears on this, and then we're gonna like form a game plan around it, and we're going to figure out how to release, what's the best way to release this music, you know, what's the best kind of video to go along with this song, you know, like, and that's because the industry has changed, you know.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's one of those things. You're right. You're absolutely right. I feel like the music scene has completely changed, especially when from the point where you guys started to now, it's
totally different.
Oh, it's upside down in the weirdest way too. I mean, music. I feel like it like 2 years ago isn't not nearly as what it is today. Especially where like, you know, I guess the tone and what people are writing about and just in general. I just feel like, you know, it's just it's definitely breathed a whole new life. So
yeah, it's definitely at a weird place because, like I was talking about before, like that whole social media bubble happened. And then, like, one day it was just different. You know, the next day you're like, oh, wait, we don't have to go on tour for a month, and we can still make the same amount of money or still scale our brand of a band to become bigger than what it is right now. Like, that just happened. And now what's happening is there's so many bands that are doing that, like, there's like a new set bar to be like, okay, what makes you different from this band? Like that's a big conversation we have from every band. We're like, you know, like there's a million pop punk bands. What makes you different? Like there's got to be one. You need a story now. You need like an image. You need a brand. You need it all. You know, because people are gonna see through that shit now, more now than they ever have.
It's weird. I agree with you totally because like I feel like a lot of the newer like pop punk bands nowadays, I guess there's like I can name a couple off the top of my head. Like I was talking with John Ryan. You know who John Ryan is?
Who is it?
John James Ryan.
Oh yeah, JJR. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he has a band right now he plays in called Keep Flying, which I have been totally stoked on because like I feel like they have the pop punk sound, but they also incorporated like horns, which I think is something that, you know, not too many people are doing nowadays, which I think is fun.
Yeah, because some people like either love or hate ska. That's why.
It's not even like a ska. That's the weird part, though. It's like it's not like ska. Like it's not like a real big fish by any means. Like if anything, if I could give it a close comparison, I guess it would be like to like a Goldfinger, if anything.
Yeah,
but Goldfinger's.
Yeah, definitely, and that's like more like punk rock, you know. And then, but John James Ryan comes from that grinded out world, you know. So they're always going to be different. He's got more passion than like, you know, a ton of people that I know. So, I mean, that band's going to be successful, and it's definitely been a long time coming for him because he's helped so many bands and been there for so many. He's been behind the scenes on so many big things that nobody really knows about. So it's good to see him being like, yo, I can't work on your shit today because I got my own shit. You know, it's awesome to see.
It's super cool. Like, for anybody that hasn't heard of him, John Ryan, like I said, he plays in a band called Keep Flying. He previously was in a band called We Are the Union. Just such a fantastic person. Check out, I have an episode that I did with him on the show, and you'll understand once you listen to the episode. Just like his outlook is amazing, and I think it's very. I think it's kind of it should be contagious. Like, you know, getting to meet somebody like
definitely
super contagious, super genuine,
especially on the road. You know, when the road gets very boring, John always finds like some kind of phrase or some kind of game or something to look forward to by seeing him each day. For me, like, I mean, there's so many days on work tour you're like, God, this sucks. I just want to go home. And then you'd see John, he'd say something, you'd be like, it's not that bad, you know.
Exactly.
It's not that bad, you know. So he's a very positive. He's a very positive person in my life, and I'm lucky to call him a friend still. So.
Oh, I love it. I guess, like, this interview to me is really, like I said, it's super special just because, like, Man Overboard definitely, it really revived me back into enjoying pop punk. I mean, obviously Blink-182 was one of those bands that, you know, I grew up loving, and I assume that, you know, all you guys did as well.
Of course, yeah, they were a big band in everybody's life, I think.
It's crazy because, like, I guess in some way, shape, or form, I guess Man Overboard always, you know, you always saw the kids either at a show or a mall or wherever. It was all, you always saw the Defend Pop Punk shirts, and, you know, the minute you saw that, you didn't even need to see Man Overboard. You knew what it was, and, you know,
yeah.
I guess was that kind of like, did that simple design, I guess, for a merchandise item, did you ever think like something like that would have gone so far and just like take off? Because kids, I imagine that was probably one of the best things you guys ever did, like for merchandise.
Yeah, no, we never ever thought that.
It's
no,
so
never.
funny.
Yeah, and like I said, that just grew. You know, it turned our band from like a regular old pop punk band that sounds like everybody else to like a brand, and it actually like meant something, and kids were like loving it and tattooing it and like buying the shirts and actually wearing them, and we're just like, what the hell's going on? It was the first shirt we ever wore, you know. We're all we all like grew up on like, you know, old punk bands and hardcore bands, and it wasn't even ours. Like, it was this band called Most Precious Blood. They were like a hardcore band, and they had like a Defend Hardcore shirt, and Wayne was like, you know, like, let's rip that off and just put pop punk under it. And we're like, yeah, whatever, man. and just, you know, it's scaled. It's crazy. It still blows my mind daily how big that got.
I feel, and I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, when I was learning about you guys, that's literally like one of my friends. He had a Defend Pop Punk shirt, Man Overboard. I'm like, what's that? And we just got talking. Told me all about the band and how you guys would play like. I mean, I'm from Massachusetts, so like you guys would play like down at the fucking ICC or like the the churches
New Bedford.
Just like you'd play all these like really small venues, and like you'd always like either be with like the like a Transit or someone like that, and that's where he got hooked to it. So it was kind of like it was a word of mouth thing, and it was crazy. And I was like, dude, that's like kind of making a fucking statement, because like, you know, for a long time, and I think Newfound Glory, they definitely, you know, I give them all the respect in the world that they helped, like, you know, revive that movement with it, like, you know, the Pop Punk's Not Dead tour and all that stuff. Like, they just
I feel like it sparked all that stuff, honestly, you know. And it's like when we got approached to do the Pop Punk's Not Dead tour, we were like, fuck, like bands are like really taking that pop punk thing seriously, you know what I mean? We were like, holy shit, like. Like, we're just normal guys, so like when it came, like we thing is sacred with our band. We literally make a joke about anything. It's totally fucked up, but at the same time, we're like, wow, like people really give a shit about this, and it's working. So like, yeah, let's carry the torch, man. Screw it.
And that's one of the things I really think, like, you know, one of my buddies, he hit the nail on the head, you know, when we were talking about it. He goes, honestly, dude, he felt like, you know, we were talking about how in one way Newfound Glory really did help kind of pass that torch for you guys in this generation. And that was one of the things that, like, I was talking.
Oh, 1,000%, 1,000%. I mean, I always tell people this because it's 100% true. Vinny Caruana from the movie Life on the Avalanche,
Mhm.
Buddy Nielsen from Senses Fail, and Newfound Glory were like the first three big bands that we were all like, holy shit, they like our band, you know? And like during recording Real Talk, we were playing shows with I'm the Avalanche because Vinny was awesome, and he took a liking to our band, and Buddy was coming to the studio, you know, and we were like,
Okay.
what the hell's going on, you know? Like, we're playing the 6th show and Buddy's here, so like we got to be doing something, right? And then, you know, working with Steve from Newfound Glory, I mean, he gave our band every idea that ever came in his head, you know. He really helped develop Zach and I as better songwriters, and being in the studio and like really thinking about the fine details of songs. You know, he really brought a lot of that out with us. He produced 2 of our records, you know, so we've sat in a room with Steve for hours and hours and hours and hours going over songs. And yeah, definitely Newfound Glory was a huge reason that our band had a lot of success. You know, bringing us on that tour totally changed the game for us. You know, I'm the Pop Punk's Not Dead tour, like them this time next year, Man Overboard, Wonder Years, Set Your Goals. Like, that tour doesn't happen anymore right now. You know, there's no tour minus like having the Story So Far on it. There's no tour that compares to that or is that big. I don't know of any. Maybe I'm an old man, but
I mean, right now
in the pop punk world, I'm saying, you know, I'm sure there's huge like Miss May I. The people listen to this are like, dude, Miss May I's bigger than Newfound Glory. I'm like, yeah, true. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in the genre that we're in. You know, it's slim pickings right now, I think.
they definitely, I mean, that's it. I mean, I think, like, even on a metalcore side, I mean, metal's been around for such a long time, and even metalcore, I mean, you have what, fucking Converge and all those guys. But I mean, Newfound Glory, I mean, they fucking laid a foundation to something that they helped lay the foundation. I mean, they were out around the same time as Blink-182. I mean, the fact.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Blink definitely helped. Blink definitely let them do their thing for sure. Like they helped also, you know.
Absolutely. I think, you know, Blink was one of them, and I mean, and I always say this on this show, is like one of my personal favorite bands growing up, even now to this day, is the Descendants, and they fucking, like, they're in their 40s, and they still play shows, they're still touring, and not as much as they probably once did, but like they laid the like earliest that I can think of like foundation for pop punk music on a big scale.
Definitely. And yeah, now it's on an even bigger scale because of social media, and people can like find that stuff out, you know, like things like filmage, you know, people don't know about that stuff. People don't think that like, holy shit, Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters loves the Descendants. Like, that doesn't cross your mind. You don't know about that shit.
Exactly.
So now it's like all coming in full circle, and people are like, oh shit, like the Descendants were like the sickest ones. So that's what they're going out on tour. You know, in the studio with Bill, he would be like, it's so weird. Like, one day the Descendants were like nothing, and then like the next day we were like huge again. And we're like, yeah, so weird, dude.
I think
like it doesn't even cross his mind that they were like so influential. That's what my point is. You know, he's just like, I don't really know. Like, I don't know what happened. You're like, dude, I mean, you were one of the sickest bands of all time. What are you talking about? You don't know what happened.
It's funny. It's so funny because like when I learned about the Descendants, I'm guilty like for two things. One is I didn't learn about them directly from their music or going to a show. It was more or less one of them was the Warped Tour 2004 compilation CD, which is probably one of my favorite CDs I've ever bought as a kid. And the other one was, I'm pretty sure either through one of the Blink-182 DVDs, I guess, like I remember like Mark Hoppus and Tom DeLonge talking about like their influences, and the Descendants came up in that conversation. I think it was from the Chronicles DVD they put out. It was either one or two.
Yeah. It's something about the Descendants.
Yeah.
You're like, who's that?
They're talking about the Descendants, and I'm like, who the fuck is... Actually, it wasn't even who the fuck is this. It's like, I've heard of them, and then I, obviously go back to the CD, and that was the earliest one. And then, you pick up Everything Sucks and all that, and it's probably one of my personal favorite it's one of my favorite CDs of all time. Listen to it on the daily if I could,
And that's all time period stuff, man. It goes back to everything we talked about so far. It's like all about the time period. It's all about happening at a certain time. I mean, there's kids today that love, like, give me a band like Neck Deep, or they love Knuckle Puck, and they're like, some of the kids don't even know who the fuck Man Overboard is anymore. It's crazy because there's so much music that they'd be like, oh wait, Neck Deep likes Man Overboard. That's crazy. Let me go back and listen.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's gonna happen, and it's starting to happen now. Like, I look at Twitter, I look at my Twitter, and I see like all the people be like, yo, what's up? Like, are you guys ever coming back? And there's still so many people that message us and they're like, yo, really love that song. Have no idea that we're even on a hiatus. It's crazy.
And I guess, I always like using this example, and it's a weird one for me, but like, when, let's say something did down the line, 2-3 years down the road, Man Overboard says, hey, we're coming out, and it turns out to be kind of like that weird situation, like an Under Oath, hey, we're back.
Yeah.
And they're fucking selling out major venues, A-grade venues, and they're adding nights and stuff like that. If that happened, like, I guess those breaks do help. I mean, a lot of people don't get it. Like, you're fucking human at the end of the day.
You have to have those breaks, because without those breaks, and this was a big conversation for our band, like, not everybody in the band was super keen on like us taking a hiatus, and a big conversation about it was, it's like, look, dude, like, we're over touring, like, we're super accessible. If we go away, and let this whole pop punk thing play out and see where the hell it ends up, and then decide to come back and play, then yeah, let's do it. And if that does happen, that's beating the game. I mean, that's the ultimate beat the game.
I agree.
That's exactly what it is. Like, set your goals. Perfect example. They just, I guess last year they did like some reunion shows, talking to Junior backstage, who, by the way, am trying to get to start a band with Junior and I that sounds like Rancid or the Transplants. That's a different story, but talking to him, I'm like, dude, you fucking beat the game. I mean, you're out here in Philadelphia playing a sold-out show. It's 2017, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are here. They're buying tickets, and they're like, it's still going on. You haven't released music in how long?
Fucking.
Like, that's the ultimate, like, beat the game.
And I think, like, they were one of those bands that, like, they had, oh man, and I love Set Your Goals. I mean, Mutiny, and Mutiny was probably one of my favorite records they ever put out, and that was right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then, like, the second record, This Will Be the Death of Us, was fantastic, and a lot of, I guess, like, they get a lot of shit, I guess, for burning at both ends, but I mean, they did what they had to do, and eventually, they kind of stepped away softly. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, definitely.
They didn't need to fucking make an announcement or anything like that. You just, like, you scratch your head, like, oh, I love this band, I love this. What's going on with them? I haven't heard from them in a while. What's up with that?
Yeah.
And then, like,
yeah, I mean, you have to do that, dude, and that's like not having an ego. That's where that ego thing comes into play. Like, you can't stay on top forever. It's so true. I mean, like, you need to always be looking at the picture and be like, oh, what's happening right now? Like I said, look, we're on the main stage this whole summer, Wharf Tour. Like, what's next? Where are we gonna go? And if we don't know where to go, then let's just take a step back and let it tell us where to go. Like, let's not fight this.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's other bands that are coming up, and let's let them go. Let them go. Let's step out of the way for a second and see what happens. And like I said, it's definitely slim as far as looking at when it was when I came up with like I said, bands like Total Play and shit like that coming up to where it is now. Like there's definitely, and I don't mean there's no good bands. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying there's not a lot of to choose from. It feels like in a time that there's so much music, it just feels like in this genre in particular, it's like, I mean, like, what are the heavy hitters? I don't know. Neck Deep, Knuckle Puck, Real Friends, State Champs.
Oh yeah, I mean, I hear about
All Time Low. I mean, All Time Low is a freak band though. They don't count. They get bigger and bigger like every day.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they.
So, but I mean, like, other than that, it's like, what's going on? What the hell's what's happening?
I mean, look at everybody that is stepping away right now. I mean, obviously, like you guys, A Loss for Words shut it up. What, they stopped 2 years ago now.
Who was it? I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
Oh, I'm sorry. A Loss for Words.
Yeah, A Loss for Words.
A Loss for Words, step back. This time next year broke up. I mean,
yeah,
fucking. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm very excited because, like, you know, Handguns is back and doing their thing. Like, they were one of the few, I think, that were like, they were catching the tail end of it, and they were just they were pretty good. And it's great to hear that they're back. And, you know, I talked with Taylor a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we did. I did a lot of those records too. I mean, we spent hours on those records.
I heard that you guys are supposed to be also doing the new Handguns record, if I'm correct.
I'm not sure yet. I mean, Jeff texts me, once a month about something. So that's kind of where it's at right now. But
word. I know it was reported out there on there when they were making the announcement that they were back and all that, and that they had plans to work with you guys. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we wouldn't say no, but I'm not sure where that's at. But
all right.
But yeah, it just seems like there's just not a lot going on, especially in a time that we all know. I mean, we need music that matters now more than ever, and it's crazy because you're not finding it. I'm not finding it anyway. Maybe I'm too busy rocking my baby at night, but I don't see it.
I really think, like, you know what it is, brother? It's like they're fucking up with, like, I mean, they have Spotify, which I think is fantastic. I love Spotify, huge fan of it. I think they could change the platform a little bit and bring in, like, I was telling this story last week, I'll tell it again for anybody listening, is like, I remember a website called purevolume.com. Huge fan of it. Pure Volume is what got me turned on to a lot of the local music and a lot of the music that I listen to today, and just, it was simple as, like, you had a big genre chart, you click them all off, and you could even pick it up to your location, like how close you wanted them to, like, where you're from, and you literally had an endless amount of bands to pick from, whether they were good or bad. It was up to you to judge, but you could get bands out there, and, like, a lot of these local bands, and I feel like that's why I think, like, I thought for a long time, like, the Massachusetts local scene was so strong. It's just because you had websites like that, and then nobody fucking uses that anymore. I mean, I can only imagine, like, what the Philly scene is like, or even like,
I mean, I'm not really sure about the Philly scene. I do retract my statement a little bit. There are really good bands that are coming up. It just feels like it's at that lull period right now. But like I said before, like, we've worked with some bands that are really good, like that Small Words band from Nashville. They could be part of it. There's, like, that band Bearings that just got signed from Toronto. They just got signed to Pure Noise. So, like, that wave's coming up. Chicago's got a lot of strong bands. So does Florida. So
okay. It's just,
I don't want to sound like, dude, it's only State Champs and All Time Low. That's it. Like, that's not what I'm saying at all.
No.
All I'm saying is, like, right now in the period, it's like, okay, let's wait for this next handful of bands to come up, and they are coming.
Oh, I bet.
I message a ton of them all the time. They come record in the studio and make a record together. So there's definitely bands on the rise. But
I mean, but if we were having this conversation, I think maybe about 6 or 7, maybe about 7 years ago. I mean, at one point though, it was just like, there's too many bands, not enough fans. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was like whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. I guess like that was. And I remember I was having this conversation with somebody else that I was interviewing actually when I was on a radio station, and that was exactly it. Too many bands, not enough fans. And everybody wanted to play a show, and everybody wanted to be involved, and all this stuff. But it's like, I think nowadays we're looking at it from the other side now, where it's not enough. I mean, we're not at we don't have so many bands anymore because people are realizing like being in a band is a lot of work, and it's not as
a lot of work. Yeah.
It's not as fucking simple as just plugging in your guitar and putting it on your computer and just recording it and then putting it out on a website. It's not that simple anymore, you know. I mean,
no, it's all branding. It's a business.
Damn right, and
it's a business. It's a business now more than it ever was, I think. And you got social media to blame for that. I mean, it's a blessing and a curse.
Oh, for sure. All right, man. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. We're approaching an hour, and I fucking appreciate having you on the show. I have just one more question. I do this with all the guests.
Shoot, yeah, man.
All right, brother.
Whatever you got.
All right. Typically, like, you know, I like to ask people, you know, you're stuck on a desert island and you have to bring one record with you. What record is it and why?
What, one record?
What one record? Yeah.
Oh, fuck, that's tough, man. One record on an island.
Yeah.
I would take. Oh man, that's a rough one. I don't care if I get judged for it, but I would take Oscar, Idol Will Kill. That'd be the record I'd take.
All right, why is that?
And it's just lyrically, it was on another level for me when I was a kid, and like song structure wise, it's so unique to me in a way. Like the guy wrote songs, and I would just be like, what part of the song is this now? Like, it's one of those records. You're like, it's like, maybe it's like a fifth verse, but to me that's one that I would definitely take. A second one might be this band called And You Will Know Us by the Trail of Dead, and there's one record they have called Worlds Apart. That's one of my favorite records. Fuck, man, Green Day record or Melancholy record. Or maybe Smashing Pumpkins double disc. That's a good one.
See, I love it when you have like, you know, somebody's a fan and like it's just like fuck it. You can think of 10 like your top 10 records off the top of your head, and even then, like sometimes you're just like, can I just bring a fucking full iPod? You know?
Yeah, I mean, like we go on. Like, I bring a Tom Petty record. I bring a Beatles record. Bring a Misfits record. You know, I gotta bring some shit, man. I got my phone, so I got any record I want.
Boom, right there. I love it. I love it.
I would make a playlist. Is what I would do. I'd make one playlist.
Oh,
how's
shit.
that?
That's fair. I'm surprised you guys haven't put out a playlist like on Spotify. I mean, definitely that would be fucking rad. I would listen to it.
Yeah, maybe that's something we could do. Make like a little Lumberyard playlist. I'll make the intern try to figure that shit out.
I don't think it's all that hard. I mean, I'm actually looking into doing one for the show as well with all the guests.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, a good friend of ours, his name is Johnny Minardi. He runs like a new clothing line called Good Future Club, and they just released a pretty cool playlist, and they put two of the bands that Wayne and I are working with on it.
Oh, right.
For the Insides, the band The Insides and Small Words. So, yeah, Good Future Club. It's a clothing line ran by our good friend Johnny. Check that out.
Yeah, definitely. I fucking love it, dude. I definitely want to have you on again sometime soon. I mean, it's just good. This is a good talk, and I'm really enjoying myself.
Yeah, man, I'm always down to chat. Hit me up. Let me know.
Fuck yeah. I mean, even, you know what, man, even sometime, if you want, when Ace is in town or something like that, we fucking, all three of us just have a good conversation. I would love to hear what you two have to say to each other and about stuff, just in general.
Oh, yeah, man, anytime. You set it up, I'll be there.
All right, fucking sweet, dude. I love it. All right, man. All right. So I'll on that note, I definitely. Oh yeah, there is one more thing. What the fuck am I doing? I usually like to play music at the end of the episode, so everybody knows like what's up.
Yeah.
You want to? I mean, what I want to do is like I think it's a little tricky because like, you know, obviously I want to hear a Man Overboard song, but do you have a song actually, like something that you guys have recorded that, you know, I can definitely put out there and we can plug a band that you guys are backing and we can show some love to that, you know?
Yeah, we can definitely play some Lumberyard bands. I'll definitely say what bands we want to play, or I'll just send you some. You put them on.
You know what, man? I'm gonna be doing an intro later, at the beginning of the episodes, and I'll do an outro after this, and we'll just we'll talk it out. And if you want, text me over everything or email. We can figure it out.
Cool.
All right. We'll get some
Yes.
music up. But if you had to pick a Man Overboard song, I mean, we can at least pick that. If you had to pick a Man Overboard song.
You're asking me to pick a Man Overboard song? I'm sorry, break up a little bit.
Yeah. If we're gonna let's play. Well, we can pick the Man Overboard song. We can pick that song right now if we want.
Damn. What Man Overboard song would I want to play right now? If I had to walk on the stage right now and play one Man Overboard song, they gave us one shot. They're like, hey, go out there and play one song, and then you got to go away for 2 more years. I'd probably play Montrose, I think.
Perfect.
That would be my choice. That or Where I Left You would be my choice.
Oh, those are good songs. I like, dude. I mean, honestly, like my personal favorite was always Atlas. Fucking.
Oh yeah, Atlas.
Such a good song. That
11 ring outs.
That or freaking Sidekick. Sidekick was always such a rad song too.
Yeah, Sidekick was a cool one.
But all right.
Sidekick was a little Lion King-y for me. I felt like every time that song came on, I was like watching the Lion King.
Like that's funny.
So now when you listen to it, you think of that.
If you ruin that song for me, man, I'm gonna be heartbroken because I really do like that song.
Nah, dude. I mean, Lion King's sick. You know, Kuna Matata.
There you go. All right. Fucking everybody, that was Nick. He's from the band Man Overboard. He is also from the Lumberyard Recording. If you are in a band, and definitely inquire and hit them up. I mean, you're looking at 2 experienced gentlemen who want to work with you. So let's if you're interested, they have a Facebook page. I'll link it to myself. And yeah. So until next week, take care, everybody.
I figured I'd go